opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the Barber's Chat Network, our great partners at H&B Media, or any of our media peers. We're just five idiots who love sports and love to talk shit. If you're offended easily, then this show isn't for you. And for those of you who aren't offended easily, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Remember, it's only entertainment.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news, money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold. My agent just said we made 100 flat. Make it back and make it stack just like I'm Steven Jack. Put my rings up in the camera like I needed that. Up in the air and at the rim is where I meet them at.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news, money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You. It is Friday, June 6th, 2025. Of course, I'm your host, Scott Lewis. And of course, you know to follow me on all social media platforms at Barbchair Scott, man. That is Twitter/X, Instagram, TikTok. Shout out to everybody follow me on TikTok. TikTok been cracking lately. Keep it up. Follow the Barber's Chair at Barber's Chair Co. on all social media platforms, and follow our partners, H&B Media, at HB Media TV on Twitter, and at HB Media on Instagram. And of course, follow the Instagram page of our show. I'm Not Gonna Hold You at INGHY show. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Patreon, man. Patreon.com/Barbers Chat Network. If you are listening to this on our podcast feed, the link is right there in the description box for you to click on. And if you are watching this on YouTube, on your TV or your computer screen, wherever, man, take your phone right up here to the QR code. The QR code will take you to all four different tiers we have. And if you subscribe to the Barbers Chat Network, all access there. If you hear my dog in the background, I apologize. That nigga's office pulling up, aka the mailman. If you subscribe to that, you will get $5, 25% off your first order on that as well, man. But we are here, and you get 25% off on the BCNet. BCNetshop.com for all of your stuff, man. So I'm gonna let Bang take this real quick because this little nigga barking too loud. Now I don't want y'all to be Bang, I'm gonna let you do this real quick.
Oh man, look, hey, I was totally unprepared and for the dog and shit. So Dante, what's good?
I'm solid, bro. Just got back from a company softball game. You know, nothing like a good company event to remind you old as fuck.
Oh yeah.
So it was solid. You know, my hamstrings are killing me, but other than that, everything is great, bro. How you feeling?
I'm gonna say that the last active company party that I've went to was not like none of mine. It was my aunt's, and that's when I figured out that I wasn't gonna play college football because my back was done after volleyball. So I don't envy you at all. I use company outings to do what I'm doing right now, and that's drinking the finest of tequila.
Dog, I wish I had that option. This is one of those family-friendly charity for a good cause joints, and it wasn't no open
But you
bar,
play
so.
baseball. Like you are a former collegiate baseball player too, right?
No, I mean I had
you're a
fun.
ringer.
Like I mean, not really. No, my team got smoked, but we had a good time. We had a good time out there.
Wait, Dante, you played baseball in college?
Yeah.
I had no idea about this. Okay, didn't know.
Wait a
that.
minute, how you didn't know this, but I did?
I ain't gonna play that in college. I was definitely going
I
to
pay
use
attention to social media. I pay attention to
with the-
Throwback Thursdays and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna hit him with the Uncle June. He didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete. So, but anyway, I got my dog settled. Doesn't mean he won't bark again because we are in that time where he likes
my
to bark at
kids
the
act
fucking
the fool,
mailman.
so shit.
This is
My
also
kids,
true,
your
but
dog.
but see, I feel like kids understand English. You know,
Mine don't.
dogs sometimes.
What?
Say yours don't.
Mine don't.
Said Dante's looking like Luis Robert at the plate, is what Orlando says right here. Which would have been a compliment 5 years ago.
But wait a minute, what position did you play in college, Dante? Or just period?
Left field. I played second base in high school.
Yeah. I tried out for my baseball team because I did play like little league, but then I like stopped. Not because I wanted to be a gang member or anything, but it's just because I just stopped, and I realized that I couldn't do that shit no more.
Yeah, no, I was on the team in college, but at that point I had completely lost my love of the game, and where I played didn't make it no better because like we was doing nut shit like changing in the parking lot. You know, we played at a public park. It wasn't a real program experience. So I was there, but I mean, yeah, that's partially why I still do what I do today, just because I love baseball, bro.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't play any sports, but I played. Okay, it was a funny thing. I played basketball. This is like when when they let everybody join the team. There was no actual like tryouts or nothing. I was like when niggas was. I only played when we went up 30 or down 30. There's no in between.
The victories ago.
Yeah, exactly. I was like Brian Scalabrine with way less talent. So that's exactly what it was. So. And it was actually
as long as you wasn't the kid that they was using to get on Sports Center, you all good.
No,
have I told y'all how much I hate that?
I hate
like
it.
I know people. A lot of people tell me I'm a bad person when I say I don't like that, but I really do not.
Was Ronnie.
That's crazy.
Now Dante, I hate it too. Like I hate all that shit. It's like for real, what's the point? Like. And then
it's a manufactured moment, G.
Yeah, then they hit a couple of threes, and everybody want to be like, "Yeah, John did it." Like, nah, fam, you should have put him in the game earlier. Then.
If it's gonna be Rudy, let that motherfucker really be Rudy. Like, just come out there as the underdog and get it cracking. Like, that's just my personal opinion. I know I get a little flack for that, but hey, that's me, bro. I'm sorry.
If my voice sounds any different today, it's because I have a massive toothache right now. So, just we keep it very transparent with the fans who watch. By the way, we have guests in hour 2 in the local hour. The homie Beefloaf from the 108. We're gonna talk some White Sox. Scott, we get to United to see Rodgers. I was gonna tweet you yesterday, B-Dot, I thought about who do I hate more, the Packers or Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? And I thought about it for a minute. I was like, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, I hope the Packers beat the holy shit out of him, depending on what the standards look like in that particular league. Just want to put that little caveat in there. If we need a Packers loss, QAaron is gonna need to do what I need him to do. But if it don't really matter at that point, yeah. But and says these are the kind of stories are funny when the player is an old nigga. Yeah, that is funny. But yeah, I was terrible, man. It's funny now that I'm a new soccer fan. I actually played soccer a little bit when I was a little kid too. I used to play over there in Marquette Park, nigga. And I was Huff as well, but that's beside the point.
I was Huff
as well. Yeah, so I'm the niggas going there like, which you niggas play? By the way, and also I want to use this too, and then we'll move on. When it comes to talking about sports, niggas like, oh, you ain't play. If you didn't play at least D3 in any league, I don't want to hear that. Man, you ain't play shit. If you play overseas, my nigga, like anybody can go to LA Fitness and get a ball and hoop, nigga. That's the case. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really get that. He said I was taking shifts at number 9. Yeah, I was a striker. I was a terrible striker. He said Rodgers made me realize my hate is stronger than my fandom because I like Tomlin. But I wish all the bad for the Steelers this year. We're gonna get into that later on, man. But let's start off the show with some NBA Finals talk, man. Last night was game 1 of the NBA Finals between the OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers won that 111-110 with yet another Tyrese Halliburton game winner. This is his fourth in a row. He's done one in every series. He put the Bucks away with this.
This is fifth. This is their
it's
fifth.
His fifth. It's his fifth one. Okay, so he must have done it a couple times.
Fifth, 5 times.
Okay,
is a record.
Okay, I know he sent the Bucks home with it. I think it was in Game 5, the game that Giannis wanted to kill everybody in the state of Indiana. He did this in Game 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how can we forget what he did against the New York Knicks in the last round? I had a tweet that kind of feel went mini viral. I tweeted that clip of Charlie Murphy, challenge him and make sure your people there to see the game. As you can see right here, man, Tyrese Halliburton. The funny thing about Tyrese Halliburton, he didn't have the quote-unquote best game. Only had 14 points, but it was a double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. It was kind of a real balanced game in general for the Pacers. You know, Pascal Siakam was the leading scorer with 19. Miles Turner put in 15 points. And then Obi Toppin had a bit. I feel like Obi Toppin was the one who really kind of got this rolling for the Pacers with 17 points off the bench. TJ McConnell had a big game as well, man. But the big thing here is they are up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This thing about Shai. Shai had 38 points, and he was 14-30. It was efficient, but it also didn't feel like it was a good game for him as well, man. He said, it's a funny comment, right? Pacers sacrifice Irsay, Caitlin Clark, and Richardson and pull pork shoulder for this. But yeah, man. So let's just talk about the Pacers from what happened last night. First of all, before we start the play, I gotta say this. Terrible presentation by the NBA. Enough of the fucking no NBA Finals stuff on the court. Like, I need something. Even if I feel like in the past, even though they didn't have the trophy in the middle of the court, they had the digital NBA Finals logo. We didn't even have that last night. Like, it felt like presentation wise, like it was a regular ass game on a Tuesday night on NBA TV. They didn't even show the national anthem. They didn't show nothing. Like
no jersey patches, nothing. That was horrible.
No jersey patch, like the patch is on the back of the jersey. We can't see that shit. So terrible presentation for the NBA. Just wanted to get that out the way. But another Pacers comeback. Pacers were down 15 points as much in the fourth quarter. And then they, just woke up and found a way. And it was one of those things where I felt like if they kept it close, they had a chance. But I didn't it wasn't like that. I feel like every comeback they've had, I just don't think they're gonna win. And then by this time, I should obviously be used to it because, like you just said, Bang, this is like their 5th game winner. So I should be used to the type of stuff that they're doing. But I just didn't see it happening. I think there was a point in the fourth quarter when they cut it down to 6. Then Shai hit a 3, and then it's back up to 9. I was like, okay, well that's all she wrote right there. And no, they just kept coming back to the point where I don't feel anybody in that arena knew what the fuck happened. Like, it just felt like it was overall stunned from the players to the fans to the coaches, everybody except for the Pacers. And I also love what the Pacers said when they came back, saying like, "Oh, look, this is 1 of 4," which is something that both teams did. Shai said that as well. You can say he's very irritated when he said that. But this is a massive game massive win for them coming out. Man, you said this is on Monday that if there was any game that they could win, it would be game 1. And now you put a lot of pressure on the Indiana on the OKC Thunder. So, Ben, what did you think about game 1 last night?
Like I said, if it was any game that the Pacers could take is game 1. I know in the clip that's out there on social media, I'm basically like, they're gonna get ran through. And quite honestly, that's what was happening. Like, if you look at from the game when the game started to before things went left, they was running through these boys. But I also believe that OKC took their foot off the gas. And by doing that, the Pacers is the team you don't want to do that with. The Pacers is the team that you don't want to give any hope. And last night is a perfect example of that. So when you look at it, I don't want to say it's par for the course when it comes to OKC. because they haven't really had to deal with this like this throughout the playoffs. But they know now. They know now that you can't play around with these boys. And if you're up by 15, with 4 minutes left, if you up by 15, you got to continue to put the pressure on them boys. You can't let up. If you do, they're going to come back, and you put the ball in Tyrese Halliburton's hand. Anything's possible.
Dante, what was your thoughts from last night?
More the same of what we've seen from the Pacers. Really, just if they can stay close, they always have a shot. And more importantly, you can't turn the ball over 20 times in the first half. That's why they were down the way they were down, because they turned the ball over so much in the first half. And I know some of that is a testament to OKC's defense. Their defense is amazing, but at the same time, things like I said, 20 turnovers in a half. That's a lot. And so, even with that said, like I said, they kept it close. And in that second half, they really battled back. You saw them adjust. They started to attack SGA on the pick and rolls, crashing the pick and rolls further up in the court, as opposed to letting him just keep driving, even though he damn near had 40, didn't he? He had 38 or 40.
38.
Yeah, so he was going crazy. Yeah, he needed 40. Yeah, he was going crazy. But at the same time, they started to make some adjustments to make him work a little harder for those shots. But I mean, if you're the Pacers, this is exactly what you wanted. You wanted to at least split in OKC, because you know how well you've been playing in your building. So if you can get back home and keep that going, bro, I think it's this is a perfect scenario. This is exactly what you wanted. You wanted to just steal one, and it just happened to be game one, so that works in your favor.
I always like NBA finals, not just NBA finals, but championship series or games where I don't give a fuck who wins. It's way more relaxing to watch that instead of having a hate watch. All my hate watches were successful this year. Started off with the Lakers. Lakers got out of here very, very quickly. And my Knicks hate watch was successful. Took a minute, took 2 rounds, but finally got them out of here. I literally do not give a shit who wins this, so that's why I hope this is a very, very long series. So game one made me excited about it because, even though there's a good chance that OKC could come out in game 2 and just completely mop the floor with these motherfuckers, which is a high probability. We'll get into when we change any of our series takes later, but this is putting pressure on OKC. Game 2 is a game, is a must win. You can't go in there and just say, oh, we just gonna do what we do, because ask the other 2 motherfuckers who they played in the last 2 rounds how that worked out. Ask the Knicks how that worked out. We'll just do our game. Ask the Cavaliers how that worked out. Like, these motherfuckers, it's starting to get to the point right now where I think the Pacers thrive off it. Like, you get into fourth quarter, if you're in striking distance, and what I mean by striking distance is under 20 points, we got a shot. And that should be something that's in their head. And, this is where, to me, where the experience thing comes in. Neither one of these teams have been there. So, OKC, yes, they statistically are one of the best teams of all time, one of the most dominant NBA teams of all time. And statistically, this will be probably the biggest upset in NBA history just off the numbers. But they can't go in here thinking, oh, we just got this. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to go. But before we get to OKC and everything they need to do is stick with the Pacers, man. Tyrese Halliburton. That's a superstar conversation. And this is why I'm going to ask this one, and I'm interested in Bane's answer this, because to me, superstar is more than just off the court. I judge superstar off how many people who were either casual watchers of the league or don't watch the league at all know who the fuck you are. My granny don't watch nothing. Like, she don't watch no sports, but she know who LeBron James is. She knows who Steph Curry is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's our superstar. I think at the most, there's 5 superstars in the NBA. At the absolute most, and I might be generous, it's probably only 4. But I think Tyrese Halliburton has a shot to be a superstar. And this is why I say that. Because if you go out here and if you win the NBA championship, the first championship in the history of the Indiana Pacers, you beat such an overwhelming favorite in the Oklahoma City Thunder, and just all the moments you had knocking down top teams. And I really think the way that you see him on the WWE and how big of a WWE fan is and how he's been there, and we all know SummerSlam is going to be a MetLife in August. Yeah, bang, I bet you didn't know I knew that. This is going to be this is going to be something where I feel This is something I feel like could propel him. Because imagine if they win the championship. You know he's pulling up to SummerSlam.
They already did it. They already like technically they already did it when Trae Young got the Knicks up out of there. As soon as they got the Madison Square Garden, they had Trae Young in the Garden, and he got hella booed. So that's already there. And then plus they had, it wasn't a program, but it was just a TV shot. It was a TV shot that had Tyrese Halliburton and Brunson like head up with each other. So like it's Triple H have already made the call. No matter what happens in the finals, Triple H has already made the call. And Tyrese Halliburton will be at SummerSlam.
But like, don't you think if he wins the championship, it kind of like makes it a little bit more special? I feel like it'll put him in more of a public eye. Like,
well,
I'm not saying that he will be a superstar, but I think that this series and this playoff run could put him on Superstar Boulevard.
So I always view the superstar conversation as a casual conversation. Like, for people who know ball and watch ball, they're gonna talk shit. They're gonna talk about the bench players just as much as they talk about Tyrese Halliburton. We was talking about on Some Dude, because we did an episode of Some Dude, and me and Mike was arguing about how I believe that 2028 is the end of the hold on basketball by America as we know it. And we're talking about not just Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum and all of these people. We're talking about bench players who are going to be on Team Canada. The superstar conversation is about casuals. And do the casual fan know it? Yeah, you got to be able to be clutch and all of that. But when it comes down to it, do the casual fan know this person? Are the casual fans of NBA going to pay a ticket when this person comes into town? I believe that Tyrese Halliburton is halfway there. He has everything outside of it. The WWE is not going to bring him in if they just feel like he's just a regular ass nigga. They're only going to bring people that they feel like they're superstars and their fans know him. And Tyrese Halliburton get hella views through the WWE. He has a signature shoe with Puma. He has commercials. People now know him due to his exploits of this NBA playoffs. And for him to be called the most overrated player in the NBA, like, he's getting ticked just off of that. So he's almost there. The reason why I say almost is because do the casual fan know Tyrese Halliburton? They probably do now, because this shit has happened too many times in the playoffs against too many teams. So he's just about there. Again, casual conversation, not just a basketball conversation, but he is just about there. And he does not have to win a title. In my opinion, he does not have to win the title in order for him to be classified as a superstar. He has to have a good series. He has to have an epic series. He has to have a Charles Barkley versus Michael Jordan type series. He has to have a series where you know that they fighting and the fans are going to be like, all right, we fuck with dude like that. So he's damn near there, especially after what happened last night. Honestly, if you add what happened last night, he's won.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very good point. Dante, how would you know, in your opinion, what's a superstar, and do you think that either Tyrese Halliburton is already there or that he will be there by the end of this playoff run?
He's not a superstar. I think Tyrese Halliburton is a star having a superstar experience right now. Like, he's on a great playoff run. But at the end of the day, when we talk about everything that a superstar encompasses, that's not Tyrese Halliburton. And there's no disrespect to Tyrese. I think he's a great basketball player. But I think this is just, like you said, it's more so just a Cinderella story. And he's the guy who was disrespected right before the playoffs start by, being told he's the most overrated guy in the league. He's one of the better point guards in the league. Top tier, I would say top 10 point guard in the league. That's, and again, this is all no disrespect to him, but right now he's playing above that. So I think it's more so he's a star having a superstar run. And it's great for the Pacers, it's great for the league and everything Adam Silver's been wanting to do with showcasing more than just the big three markets. But I think when we talk about a superstar, no. Superstars are, box office. People come to see them. Superstars are the people, they put the signs up like, hey, I traveled 8,000 miles to come see you. And I think it's just that and everything that it also involves business that, we don't have to get into right now, but we all know, like, superstars are box office and they sell things off of the court. And with Tyrese, I don't think he has that same appeal as everybody else, even though he's going on this run right now. It's just going to go down as a great historic NBA run, which he should.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I said almost, because we're not gonna figure out how we're not going to know the impact of what happened this year until the season happens. It definitely hits the trajectory of it. And no matter what, when he ends up at SummerSlam on either night one, night two, or both, he's going to be in front. He already has a t-shirt on WWE shop.com right now of the choke. Like, they don't do that. Triple H, TKO, WWE don't do that. So we'll see officially once next season starts how he's viewed when people are buying tickets for that. But I believe that, and again, this is not just a Hooper conversation, this is a business conversation. I think that as long as he does what he needs to do here, win or lose, he's going to be a superstar because he's going to be box office based off of being in front of the camera in front of millions because you're in the NBA Finals hitting game-winning shots.
I'm trying to think. So if we would agree, who would y'all say the superstar on the NBA? I think it would probably be LeBron, obviously, Steph, obviously. I would say KD and Giannis, probably.
Yeah, I agree with Dante. It ain't nothing but a handful of superstars. It's not.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not one of those. This dude can hoop his ass off. He's a superstar guy. I am not that. I've never been.
Me either. Yeah.
And that's why Bron, Steph, KD, Giannis. That's it. That's really it. That's really it when it comes to superstar status. Because again, to me, the casuals determine the superstars. Like, for example, boxing. Like, I hate when people say boxing is dead, because there's a time, like, there used to be a time even in that boxing is dead situation where I'd be watching boxing every day. And it'd be great boxers. Like, if you look at people like who's boxing this weekend, even though he didn't make his weight, like Keyshawn Davis can box his ass off. Is he a superstar boxer? Are you paying tickets? No. Andre Ward is another one. Andre Ward ended his career undefeated. He ended his career like fighting legends. But if you were to look into the crowd will barely be a sellout, if that, when you see Andre Ward. Is Andre Ward a great boxer? Yes, he is. Is he a superstar boxer? No. And that's because at that point in time, you got to sell tickets, not just in your hometown. You got to sell tickets in those areas that you go to. And we're not going to see that until next season. But he's on the trajectory.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. Let's talk about the Pacers in general with their Team of Destiny vibes. Shout out to the homie Shakia Taylor. She's been covering this series for The Athletic. And I was talking to her and she was telling me, like, yeah, she just felt like it was going to happen. And a lot of people, I've heard Richard Jefferson say, a lot of people who were at the game, media-wise, were saying they felt like, oh, this is going to happen. And so, like, it started to feel like they got a little Team of Destiny vibe to them. Now, that, I don't know 100% if that will happen, but it's just weird shit that happens with those usual Team of Destiny type teams. And if you look at who their head coach is, this really shouldn't be something that should be surprising. He's done this before. In my opinion, 2011 NBA Finals, I don't know if I call it the biggest upset in the last 25 years of NBA basketball. I still think that's probably Cleveland beating the 73-9 Warriors, but to me, it's number two. I know a lot of people say, oh, what about the Lakers over the Pistons? Let's be real. I think we're having revisionist history. That 04 Pistons team was really, really good. And that 04 Lakers team is lucky they even made it to the NBA Finals with all the shit that was going on with them. Like, Kobe beefing with Karl Malone, Karl Malone getting injured. You had old Gary Payton on there, Shaq and Kobe having contract situations. The Kobe, the Colorado situation was loaded. Was just happened. So it was a lot of stuff going on. But I feel like that wasn't as big of an upset as the Mavericks knocking out the Heatles. That to me was the biggest one. And who's the head coach of that team? Rick Carlisle. This team is starting to look dangerously similar. And I actually think this team on paper is kind of similar too, because I don't want to say it was Dirk or bust on that team. I don't want to disrespect the talent they had on that team, but it's definitely one of the, in my opinion, one of the least talented teams that's won the NBA championship. And they went through such a gauntlet. Went through the Kobe Lakers that was trying to three-peat. Went through the Young Thunder. Went through the dominant San Antonio Spurs, and then knock off the Heat. It might get those vibes. I'm not 100% there yet. If they win game 2, I'm there. Or if they go home and they go up 3-1, I'm there. But I'm slowly starting to think that they got some mojo on their side. Bang, what do you think about the Team of Destiny vibe with the Pacers?
I'm not gonna give them Team of Destiny. Like, I'm not gonna give them that much because they do still match up decent on this team. I think everything that got them here might have been destiny, but I wouldn't put the Team of Destiny vibes on a top 4 seed in the NBA Finals. As Dante said, I'll give them historic run vibes. I think Team of Destiny is 8th seed, 7th seed, maybe even 6th seed, like the Houston Rockets. Like that, those are Team of Destiny vibes. When you're a top 4 seed, man, you one of probably the top 4 favorites to get to your finals. And that's what they've done. So I wouldn't necessarily give Team of Destiny. I give, hey, we made it out the gauntlet. Let's go.
Dante, well, how would you clarify this thing? Oh yeah, qualify this thing.
I understand what you mean by Team of Destiny. It all depends on what people, determine as what defines a Team of Destiny. So for me, I would say that they are. It sounds so corny, G. Like when you say, like you said, on a magical run. Like it's one of them shits where it's like, I don't Team of Destiny.
Magical run sounds hilarious.
It's just as corny, but it's the same shit. But that's really how I feel. I think because like I'm with Bang. I think a lot of times when we talk about Team of Destiny, we talk about teams that had to overcome a lot, and they end up in a situation that we didn't expect them to be in. But I mean, in a lot of cases, you can say this was the Indiana Pacers. So I guess they do have the Team of Destiny vibes, especially when you continuously hit game winners and come back, and the way they have the just never say die attitude that we've seen from them. On second thought, I guess you can. I do feel the vibes. I mean, if they keep winning like the way they've been winning, and I'm with you. If they win game 2, I think then they have a great shot of just winning it all anyway. So it's one of those things where it's not the team where it has your typical makeup, where you got the cool superstar and all the other people that everybody loves and shit like that. A lot of people like to clown Miles Turner for, building Legos and shit like that. But I mean, they've played some great basketball. And I think one thing we can all say is it's kind of like what we said. If you're one of these people that was just stuck on names, then yeah, you're not gonna like it. But that was some good basketball, and that was a really good game.
Yeah, let's say Team Disney ass team. That's hilarious. But let's get to the OKC Thunder, what they need to do, man. And we talk about adjustments. This is, to me, the biggest adjustment here for me is Shea got to play some go to hell ball, and there was too many niggas who were taking shots who probably should have stopped taking shots last night. Like, I'm gonna need way more from Chet. 6 points in NBA Finals, 2 of 9 shooting from the field, ain't gonna cut it, brother. Jalen Williams, 6 of 19 from the field, ain't gonna cut it. And I don't think you can keep relying on Lou Dort to be hitting threes. I thought Lou Dort had a phenomenal game defensively. That boy was all over. But he had this one block. I think it was on Nembhard. Bro, it was Ben Wallace type vibes for me. But really, the thing for OKC is crazy. Like, they don't need to panic, but at the same time, they need to be focused. Like, they don't need to be panicked, but they don't need to underestimate the Pacers at the same time, because they had this game won. Usually when you're up 9 points under 5 minutes in quote unquote clutch time, and the other team has 24 turnovers, you usually win. That's also the other point. You got to score points off those turnovers. The stat might be wrong, but I think I saw they only got 6 points off those turnovers, which is asinine. So you need to take advantage of that. And there was one shot to me where I felt like, oh yeah, they lost this game. When they cut it, I think the Pacers cut it down to 3, and it was right before Siakam went out of bounds, and Shea passed it to Jalen instead of taking the shot. Shea got to take that shot. You live or die with your MVP. I don't want to see Jalen Williams taking that shot. I know I'm very old school with that. If I would shit on LeBron for passing the ball, and all this time, I'm gonna shit on anybody else. When you're the MVP in that type of situation, you gotta shoot the ball. But I really don't think it's that much OKC needs to do. Just tighten it up, clean some shit up, and make sure you actually take advantage of turnovers, and just the others have to play better. The others, not the others are bench players, but like the supporting cast. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren have to play much better basketball if they are going to win this series. If they're going to play like this shit might go 7. Bang, well, what adjustments you think OKC needs to make?
Put their foot on their necks. Go for the kill. Don't bullshit. Like how we were shitting on the Knicks about, that's just being arrogant and like, yo, just do what you do. Like, I think that OKC is not arrogant. Just do what you do. You just got through talking about how Lou Dort was out here making miraculous blocks and shit, and how Shea had a 38, but it wasn't a good game 38. You know what I'm saying? And they were up 15 with 4 minutes left. If you don't bullshit, if you put your foot on your necks, if you go for the kill, you win these games. So I just think they just got to make sure when you up by 15 that you just continue to put the pressure. Play like you did game 7 against Denver. They played that game like, yo, Denver might come back at any time. Play that game, play game 2 and the rest of the series like you played game 7 against Denver, and we ain't got nothing to talk about.
Definitely agree with that. Dante, what adjustments do you think they need to make?
I mean, you don't really have to adjust. It's close. I don't think they were bullshitting. I think most of they just got outplayed. They were still getting to their spots, getting shots, and like I said, they still had the lead up until the Halliburton shot. So it's just more so of closing strong, and that's something that they didn't do in game 1. You forced 19 turnovers in the first half. I said 20 earlier, but you forced 19 in the first half, 6 in the second half. So continue to turn that defense up. I know fatigue plays a part after a while, but I think at the end of the day, they know what they can do, and we've seen them flip that switch. And like you said, it's like an avalanche in that fourth quarter sometimes when you're playing OKC. So I think you just have to close. That's really all you can do, because I mean, other than that, there's no reason that you should have lost that game. He hit the shot, so he had a really good shot, but you did everything to win that game. You lost because of a game winner. So I think it's just more so making sure you go out there and close.
And to me, the thing that I look at also with them is game 2 is going to tell me everything I need to know, because win or lose, we're going to learn something there. To me, if OKC come out, do what they did to Minnesota after they lost, I think game 3 it was in the West Conference Finals, and they just beat the shit out of them by like 40, then okay, balance has been restored. But even if they win by like a very small margin, 7 games might be low enough. So I asked this question to y'all, and we're gonna move on to our next topic. Are we changing any of our finals predictions, or will we Bang, you said a sweep, so by default
I said a sweep or a gentleman sweep. So I said 4 or 5 games.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
And I'm staying with it. Like, nah. As Dante even said, like they were up the entire game. They were up until they lost. So you make the adjustments. You make sure that you stay aggressive. You good. Also, Denver. Excuse me. Also, OKC is not a team that lose back-to-back games like that. So I expect them to come out in this game 2 strong. So when you go to Indiana, I'm not changing my pick, because I also believe that if you do the same thing that you have been doing, then you're going to get them there. So no, I'm not changing it. I still got a gentleman sweep rolling.
Now, Dante, you weren't here on Monday. What was your original, this is, afterwards. So what was your original prediction, and are you changing it?
I had kicked around a few options. One of them was OKC in 5, and I gotta go Pacers in 7. I think this is a series where, like I said, they had 20 turnovers in that first half. So in the same way we telling OKC to adjust, if the Pacers can calm that down, and get a little more. But I mean, they played, like I said, hell of a game to come back. Yeah, role players did what they needed to do. So I'm gonna go Pacers in 7, bro. I'm with you. I just the feel of this team and just the way that they've played. I think this is a series where I know OKC should, like we said, should not blow them out, but we've seen the Pacers withstand every punch that's been thrown at them all playoffs. And with a coach like Rick Carlisle, in my opinion, is like probably the most underrated coach, of our time in terms of the great coaches. He's definitely on that list with Spo and everybody else. But I think this is a situation where no, as long as as they continue to gain confidence, bro. I think the series is going 7, but I think no matter what happens, I think the Pacers are going to win.
I had OKC in 5. I'm not changing my opinion on who's winning the series. I still think OKC gets it done, but I think it's going to be a 6-game series now. When I said OKC in 5, I was thinking OKC wins the first 2. The Pacers, protect home court in a must-win game 3, and then what happens in game 4 and 5. But I think it's going to go 6 games. And I say that because I didn't expect the Pacers to win game 1. I think that OKC will win game 2. I even think OKC will win game 3. I can see the Pacers winning game 4, and then I'll probably pick the Thunder to win the next 2. But I think we officially have a series, and as somebody who doesn't give a shit who wins, I'm very excited about this, man. So let's move on to a team that the Pacers already eliminated. That is the New York Knicks. The Knicks have fired their head coach Tom Thibodeau, a move that I predicted would happen on this show on Monday. That it was going to happen. Because I just know the way of the Thibs. I'm not a hater. Some people think I'm a Thibs hater. I love Thibs. Thibs has given me the second best joy as a Bulls fan, outside of obviously the GOAT, the Zen Master himself. He brought the Bulls to respectability. They made the playoffs, and every year that he was there as the head coach, and even took us to an East Conference Final, someplace that we didn't go after Jordan, a place that we ain't been since Thibs has left. But I always feel like there's a certain place that Thibs can get you. Like there's only a place that he can get you there. And he's a kind of a stopgap coach. He can rebuild your program, make your team respectable, and even take you to a conference finals. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks haven't been this far since fucking Bush has got elected, the second one. So, but I think to me here, first of all, I think the Knicks made the right move. I just want to get that out there. But there was a lot of mixed reactions on Twitter when this was announced. I think it was a smart move, depending on who they hire, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But I also think Knicks fans got to come to the cold reality. I just don't think this is a championship roster at the same time. So I think it's a mix of Thibs' stubbornness and also a mix that this just isn't a championship roster, and they're going to need a lot more from their players, including Jalen Brunson. I know can't say anything about Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is a very ball-dominant point guard. He's got to be more willing to be more than that. He's got to defend way better. Cat has got to do so much better defensively. It's god awful, and you're gonna need more from your others as well. So they need more. But I do feel like this is a step in the right direction, pending who they hire. Bang, what's your thoughts on Thibs getting fired, and who would you like to see be the next head coach?
I was surprised, but not shocked. I was surprised that, especially even before the finals are over with, that you made this move. I was shocked at the timing of it. Surprised of the timing, but I wasn't shocked. I think Thibs is a great coach, but he's one of those coaches that's only going to get you to a certain level. I do believe that this is a championship roster. If the Indiana Pacers are in the finals right now, that's a championship roster. I just believe that in a lot of these cases that we've seen, like let's look at the Bulls for an example. The Bulls let go of Doug Collins and they get Phil Jackson, and a year afterwards they go to the finals 3 straight years in a row, and they win, and they go to 6 and 8 years. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers. They let go of Paul Westphal and Pat Riley, and then you got the Showtime Lakers. You got a number of examples like this. Yes, it does depend on who the hire is. I don't feel like this needs to be a high profile hire. I don't think they need to just go out and get Mike Malone and stuff like that. And part of that reason is because when you look at some of the better coaches in the league right now, outside of Rick Carlisle, when you look at some of those people that thought that they were going to take people over the hump and everything, they fire them and they go get their young assistant. So I know that the Knicks used to have Johnny Bryant as their associate head coach, and he was a finalist for the Phoenix Suns position. Could they go for a young assistant and somebody who knows these players? They did request, or reportedly will request permission to interview Jason Kidd. I don't know about that unless you're trying to go get Giannis. So it really depends on the Giannis situation, if you want to be honest. But I think that this is a roster that could compete for a title. You just have to have the right coach and the right culture in order to get that done.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Johnny Bryant. That was a name that came out, like you just said. Mike Malone, to me, I understand people say, "Oh, well, he's like Thibs." Yeah, to an extent, I believe he is, and we can also debate about how many times Mike Malone's decisions got bailed out because he had a potentially top 10 player of all time on his team, and we saw how far the Nuggets got this year with a depleted roster and without Mike Malone. So, just with Adelman's, first couple months on the job. So you can have that. I don't like the Jason Kidd thing, but according to Brian Windhorst, the Jason Kidd news stuff is very loud, very loud. You gotta look at who runs the Knicks, Leon Rose, Worldwide West. They're real cool with Jason Kidd. I don't know about the Giannis thing. I feel like for them to get Giannis, they'd have to give up a shit ton because the Bucks don't have their first round pick in the next couple years. So I don't know if Giannis' thing. We heard that the Knicks actually did submit a trade request for Kevin Durant at the deadline. They got turned down by the Phoenix Suns. So I don't know. But I think that, to me, if you're looking at all of them, bang, I'm kind of with you. I might go with Johnny Bryant, like honestly, because Mike Malone might be in the same Thibs tier, and I'm just not a fan of Jason Kidd as a coach. Jason Kidd is one of my favorite players of all time. But as a coach, I'm not the biggest Jason Kidd fan. But this, and I'll say this before I go to you, Dante. To me, we've seen this conversation in Chicago sports. If you hire a good coach or a great coach, you got to make sure the replacement is great. Firing Thibs for the Bulls was the right move. Replacing him with Fred Hoiberg was not. Firing Lovie Smith was a good move. Replacing Mark Trestman was not, and on and on again, Ozzie again, Robert Ventura. So they gotta actually nail that down. Dante, how do you see this firing, and where do you think they should go next?
I mean, it's always a matter of time with Thibs. We've kind of seen like Jeff T said, his offense hasn't adjusted. It's really more so y'all do your thing, and that has led to some issues for them. I think the overall thing for the Knicks has been, you haven't had a full rotation. I know he has started to extend it a bit during that series, but I think overall, when you rely so heavily on your superstars, that starts to weigh on players. And I think I saw somebody, I think this is just more so a theory. They were like, well, what if they fired him because they know a superstar is not going to come play for him and play all those minutes? That's something I think about. But I think more than anything, if you're the Knicks, you're used to making big splashes. And now that you're, back in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time, like I said, 2 decades. It seems like a harsh move, but it's one of those things where, similar to what the Denver Nuggets did, you kind of want to rip off the Band-Aid as opposed to, God forbid, we bring them back and then we go on another run next year and then we don't get over the mountaintop and we're still sitting here saying, well, damn. That just makes his case stronger to stay and keep the job. So I think with the Knicks, if you don't like what you're seeing, you make the move, which they did. I think it makes sense. And now, as far as who they hire, I'm not sure. But it's one of those situations where if you're about to, shake that roster up again, because, I forgot what they did in the Mikal Bridges trade, but I don't know how many picks the Knicks got.
5 first-round picks or something?
Yeah, so I don't know what they got.
5 first-round picks. Like he was fucking LeBron. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. It was definitely a win now move, but it was still strange. So I don't know what you do, but I mean, if you're willing to shake that roster up again for the sake of, like you said, bringing in Giannis or somebody else who's disgruntled and wants to come to New York, that's cool. But you got to get the hire right, because I mean, at this point, even if you keep the same roster, you went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you got outplayed, and a lot of times your offense sputtered because it was simply just Jalen Brunson's going to dribble for 17 seconds and we see what happens. So you get somebody in there, do something a little different. I think things can change. So um, I'm not sure who, but I'm not surprised they let go of Thibs.
Yeah, man, Thibs is probably gonna be on ESPN soon. And that's usually how it goes, unless he, a younger team, you know,
Coaching some
wants to
college
pick him up.
thing,
Yeah,
coaching
I
like
can't see
University
him
of West
coaching the
Virginia or
college
some
thing.
shit.
I feel like he
He'd be
loses his
coaching
mind,
like
coach.
University of West Virginia or some shit.
That's random team. Last topic before we move on to the local hour, we got our guest Beefloaf from the 108 joining us in about 10 minutes. We gotta talk about this bitch ass motherfucker right here. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. By the way, how funny was it that Aaron Rodgers dropped this announcement in the middle of the president of the United States and the richest man in the country, or maybe the world, I don't fucking know, arguing, and niggas completely forgot that he
Yeah.
signed the fucking Steelers. I ain't going completely for the biggest look at me ass motherfucker like he is. I enjoyed that. But Aaron Rodgers, after months of speculation, aka hoping that the fucking uh, Vikings, like, you know what, we gonna bring you in there. He has signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, and he will be there starting quarterback, and he will be at mandatory minicamp next week. So yeah, I just want to say there's a couple things. There's a couple matchups that's exciting. Let's see, number one, the first week one, out the gate, he's facing his old team, the New York Jets. I will be rooting for Justin Fields like he's still a Bear. I love Mike Tomlin. He's my favorite coach in the NFL. I never want to root against a black man, but I'm sorry. I need QAaron Rodgers to finally leave us the fuck alone. And if I gotta root against Mike Tomlin for that to happen, that's just what I gotta have. So he's got that. They have he's gonna be returning to, I don't know if he's returning to Lambeau Field, but I know he's playing the Packers on my birthday, actually, October 26th against Green Bay. That's gonna be on Sunday Night Football. I gotta see if that's at Lambeau or if that's at Heinz Field. But then November 23rd, which I actually think this game is gonna be a flex. If the Bears are still playing good football in November, and granted that the Steelers ended too, to me this is a flex candidate. This will 100% be his last time. Oh, it's in Pittsburgh. It will be his last time in Soldier Field. I need that game more than I need air to breathe, because the last time we played him, he yelled, "I own you, I own you," and we couldn't do shit about it. We need to put his ass in the dirt like we did his punk ass daddy 15 years ago, Brett Favre, in the NFC North clinching division game. Shout out to Corey Wooten for being the one to close the casket. That's what we need. But from a Steelers perspective, I don't see how this helps. Aaron Rodgers is not good anymore. like he's like, is it better than the options they have currently? Yes. But you should have drafted Shador. I've been saying that, I'm gonna keep saying that. This doesn't help them in that division. They are the third team in that division. You're not better than Baltimore, and you're not better than Cincinnati. And you're gonna be competing with the Browns for that third spot. And for Aaron Rodgers, I just really hope this is in. Like, please leave me the fuck alone. Bang, what's your thoughts on Rodgers finally picking a team?
I mean, it's the team that we kind of expected because it wasn't nowhere else for him to go. Minnesota was kicking it with the next head coach of Nazareth Academy. So you got that right there. You didn't want to go to New Orleans. You see what they got going on there. So the most logical choice was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I believe that this move was in the works. I don't think that he just finally decided I'm gonna do it. I do think that this was way ahead of the game, and I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if he's already had the playbook in his hand and ready to go. I don't think that look, for all of the gripes that people been having against Mike Tomlin don't strike me as the person that'll wait on anything and anyone. Unless he know that he got it in the bag. I don't think Mike Tomlin was sitting there, calling Aaron Rodgers every week like so shit. So you down or not? Like, nah, I believe that Aaron Rodgers already had the playbook and already had some idea from Arthur Smith what's going to go on. And he's going right into minicamp. So yeah, I'm good. As far as like where he ranks in the conference, you're right. Like he's the third best. It's the third best situation in that conference. But as we know, with that conference, this is a conference that the head coaches never had a losing season. So if you want to earmark 9 games already for him to not have a losing season, then you start looking at some of those other games and seeing what they could take. So I don't think this is going to be a bad move, unfortunately, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I believe that they all had an idea about how this was going to go weeks ago, and Aaron Rodgers has already had the playbook.
Dante, what's your thoughts on our biggest enemy heading over to Pittsburgh?
I mean, I haven't thought about this guy in a while, but I mean, he did play a little bit better toward the end of the year. So I think if you're Pittsburgh, you're just trying to squeeze whatever little magic you think is left out of Aaron Rodgers. For him, he gets to do it on his terms. I think that's what this was all about. I talked about that. He didn't want to go to, he's going to be at mini camps, but I think it was just more so dealing with all the off-season stuff. It's like, just let me do it my way, and I'll be in there to play. So it's more so, I don't know what to expect. I'm with you. Obviously, I never really root for the guy. But if you're Pittsburgh, you're just trying to make something happen with a team that's been literally middle of the pack, 10-6 forever. And it's like, okay, if we can get something out of this Hall of Fame guy, then that's the perfect thing for Mike T to extend his tenure there. But it'll be a good bridge that they could use.
Yeah, man. Fuck Aaron Rodgers. That's how I just want to end that one. That's all we got for this first hour. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. On the other side, we will have the local hour. We're going to have the homie Beefloaf from the 108 joining us. We're going to talk a little White Sox baseball, a lot of things. White Sox been in the news these last couple of days. And so we're going to talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to recap my last 3 weeks up at Hallis Hall with all of the, for the most part, we still got some rookie stuff next week, but all of the team activities done until training camp, which is 6 weeks away. So we'll be right back here on I'm Not Gonna Hold You.
So cool.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah we code too. Getting paper on display, haters old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and it is time for the local hour here on I'm Not Gonna Hold
It is
You.
the local hour.
Local hour sponsored by Sockman on 87th. We are bringing in our guest for the day, man. Friend of the program, Beefloaf himself. You can follow him at Mr. Delicious 13 on Twitter. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm good. I'm excited. It's Friday. Sox got Mexican Heritage tonight, and let me tell you something. Mexican Heritage sells completely out every year. Like 40,000 people are in the stands. Like my street, I live like 3 blocks from the ballpark. You won't be able to get down my street. It'll be cars not only parked there, but trying to get to the various parking lots. It's going to be madness tonight, and it's a rare night where we get that much electricity in the stadium. Yeah. And it's just me and my primos out there, getting tore up, having some Modelo. That's about it. That's, the team ain't no good, but at least we're out there hanging.
It's got Bang got his drink on deck.
I had last night on the 108 pocket. I had too much of the G4, man. I hurt myself. I felt like shit this morning. I'm not gonna lie.
Man, you are muted, brother. We cannot hear you.
A man who knows his tequila, boy. G4. I had the La Gratona last week. Nice. And was like, wow, this is amazing. Tequila Ocho, Don Fulano. Hey, man, yeah. I got the Siete. Man that knows his tequila.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm about to break out tequila soon, too, because it's getting warm out here. And it's a debut for the White Sox today. Kyle Till got called up, so I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup yet. I haven't seen the lineup.
He is in fact in the lineup. Yeah, he's in there.
He's in the lineup. Okay, so that's something for the fans to watch. One of the rookies had a walk-off last night against the Tigers. So it's a lot. But before we get to the White Sox, we gotta congratulate you on something, man. Y'all got a bobblehead, bro. Like y'all got a bobblehead, as we see right here on the screen. Shout out to the whole squad. When I saw this run, I was like, oh shit, the homies got a bobblehead. Like, this to me is inspiration for all fans turned potters that I can have a Bears fucking bobblehead one day.
Exactly.
So, let us know how this happened.
It's the craziest shit. I mean, like, the guy in the Wave Sucks shirt on the bobblehead, that's my Sock Summer, and he's one of the guys who does this with myself. Treezy is my brother, so it's the three of us who've been doing this for like a decade. He is the one who is a bobblehead collector. He's also the one out of us who keeps a lot of the connections with the White Sox, their marketing department, etc. And so he'd been pushing for this for years, guys. And so what they wanted to do is, a little proof of concept. So they put us in a commercial in 2023, I believe it was, they did these track jackets. And so they did like a mafia style commercial where Treezy and I are sitting at the table. We're like having a little cappuccino and we're eyeballing My Sock Summer or whatever. And it hit real well on it was on TV, and then it was put up on Twitter and such. And then so this offseason, the White Sox moved Sox Fest, which they hadn't had in forever. They moved it to the Ramova Theater, which is a small venue. And they had us cut a promo. They're doing these Sunday bobbleheads where they're like, Ray Durham is actually this Sunday. They're going to do a Sunday where they have the 4 starting pitchers from the ALCS when the White Sox won in 2005. Yeah, no, they have some good. They've had some really good ones in there. They had us cut a promo from my hot tub. We do a hot tub show. I have a hot tub in my backyard. The day they had us cut this promo, it was legitimately like 14 degrees outside, and the wind chill was like -10. I felt so bad for the cameraman because we're in the water or whatever. But when we cut it, they played at Sox Fest, and we weren't actually even there that night because we were doing a live show at Reggie's. But we got all kinds of feedback from that, and then they threw it up on Twitter, on the White Sox Twitter account. And from Sox Fest, the only ones that got more impressions than our little video was anything with Mark Burley. So we were feeling pretty good, and we got the okay on it. And even when the proofs were coming in of what we're going to look like on the bobblehead, Treezy kept messaging me like, they ain't going to make this shit. There's no way they're making this shit. They're stringing My Sock Summer along. And I'm like, bro, I know. There ain't no way they're going to ever do it. And next thing you know, it's out there in the streets, and we got a link, and they have us pushing tickets. So basically the deal is September 16th. It's a Tuesday night. It's going to be effectively, it's a night with the 108, but it's White Sox Twitter night. And you buy a special ticket, you get patio party, and then also you get a voucher for this bobblehead. And so we've been selling. We've got a couple hundred tickets sold already. I think we're trying to hit a minimum of like 500. But our crowd, I think, will end up buying all those up, and we should be in good shape. But we're looking forward. This is like a crazy thing that they're honoring idiots on Twitter that are just fans, season ticket holders. Like it's wild.
Man, I might have to break my self-imposed ban from the stadium to come out with y'all. That's amazing, man. Big shout out to y'all on that. And you brought up Reggie's. Also, fun fact, I threw my first ever event in Reggie's in college. I had an event throwing class at Columbia College. Yeah, I had to throw a watch party for Bears Saints. Now, this is Kyle Ordinary Bear. This is even pre-Jay Cutler. This is 2008. And it was stressful, but we packed that joint out. So shout out to Reggie's, man. But
my final event at WindyCityUnderground.com was at Reggie's. And that changed the trajectory of my career. So I'm with you.
Man, Reggie's, they do a great job. We have done it in a couple different rooms. We did the second floor room, which is normally the comedy room. We've done that room a couple times. Usually we'd sell that thing out in like a day or two. Then we went over to the bigger room that was like more the rock, but their sound people are great. The bartenders are on it. When they know you got a drinking crowd, man, they're snapped to it, and they work quick, and they do such a great job. I mean, I can't say enough about Reggie's. We love doing shows there, and we'll probably book another one for next January because we like working there.
Big shout out to Reggie's, man. But let's talk about the team because there was some big news that dropped yesterday. I think was it Front Office Sports who dropped it first, but regardless, man, a press release put out by the White Sox on all their socials right now announcing a long-term ownership agreement. Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishba, billionaire Justin Ishba, have reached a long-term agreement that establishes framework for Ishbia to obtain a future controlling interest in the White Sox after the 2034 season. Now, Jerry Reinsdorf's statement was, having the incredible opportunity to own the Chicago White Sox and be a part of Major League Baseball for nearly 50 years has been a life-changing experience. I've always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I am able to remain committed to returning the franchise to the level of on-field success we all expect and desire. Now, let's bring up the actual press release that was sent to media. I didn't get this, by the way. I'm not part of the media, but somebody tweeted it out, so shout out to y'all. I know these emails. I get them from the Bears. But this is exactly pretty much what the agreement says. So Chicago White Sox today announced that Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia have reached the agreement, like I said, through all those different years. Ishbia will make, as part of the agreement, Ishbia will make capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 2026 that will be used to pay down existing debt and support ongoing operations. And then we also have here the agreement provides from 2029 to 2033. Reinsdorf will have the option to sell the controlling interest to Ishbia. After the 2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire the controlling interest. In the event of any such future transaction, all limited partners of the Sox will have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. In addition to Justin Ishbia, his brother Matt Ishbia, and father Jeff Ishbia will also be significant investors. There's no assurance that any future transaction will occur, and no event will such transaction take place for 2029. So basically, to put that in English for people who don't understand, Jerry Reinsdorf still owns the show. I feel like there was a lot of bad information yesterday. He still runs the show. This to me, because I went through three different type of emotions yesterday. First, I went from 2034. Are we gonna be alive in 2034? Like we be having 60-degree Christmases. Are we still gonna be in 2034? That was the first one. Then my man Mikey and Dante, they started talking positivity in the group chat. I'm like, all right, I might be starting to feel it. Then this morning I read more and I watched. I think it was David Sampson was on Dan Levitar. And I got back to, I ain't really, think about this. So basically, Jerry's control that the earliest, and pending he lives, this because if he dies, obviously all this goes out the window. Justin Ishbia will take control, and Michael Reinsdorf will become the official controller owner of the Bulls. The Bulls are going nowhere. They're going to be in their family forever because they are a walking bank. But 2029, if Jerry's still here and he's like, look, I don't want to run a team anymore, he has the option to sell to Ishbia. But if he doesn't, 2034, no matter if Jerry's still here and he's 98, even if he feels he can still run it, Justin Ishbia's like, nah, this is mine. So to me, and there was some who say, he's putting money into the company. Maybe that's going to affect signings. No, that is for the debt that this team has been in the last couple of years. Mostly, for the losing baseball that they've been having. So I don't really know how to feel. Beef, how do you feel? How do the White Sox fans you've been talking to feeling? Because I'm kind of like, it's whatever right now.
Yeah, we talked about this on the One Way podcast last night. We actually even brought up your tweet that you had out there, Scott, that was like, this is too far out in the future for me to give a shit about it. And my son Summer is in your camp. He's more in your camp. Like we kind of like we had heard little whispers of us that this document got signed or this agreement got signed a couple weeks ago, was in approval for Major League Baseball. And then that's why they press released it when they did, because it kind of did got through its approval. But his thought is more like, yeah, it's a sign. They're moving in the right direction, blah, 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 but it's nothing yet. To me, I think I'm a little more positive about it because I like the idea of the cash infusions. I think it is going to, you're right, it's going to be to pay off debt, but I think there's also a level of it's going to help building up the infrastructure. I don't think they're going to have a big payroll. They ain't going to be shopping for Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette. But maybe they can afford to pay the rest of Andrew Benintendi's salary and get him the fuck out of here. Like that type of stuff, I think, like the nuts and bolts crap that I was worried they might not be able to do because Jerry's run it down into like a poverty franchise and they got no money. There's no TV money. There's, all this shit. At least it feels like, well, they're going to put money in there because this is their future investment and they'll be pushing on that. So from that perspective, there's a little positivity. There's also a little positivity in my mind. No one has said this, but the fact that they're already announcing this and kind of almost letting the Ishbias ride in a sidecar, it almost feels like, we still have King Jerry. Let's make sure we call it that. It's King Jerry, but it's almost like he's needed power, reinforcement for the organization, right? No one's been excited about anything, right? They launched this memo right at the time when they're putting the CHSN channel on Comcast, right? So it's like they're trying to push the momentum a little bit. And I think when Jerry used to be a player, out of the MLB owners. And I think that has kind of faded as he's aged. And I think this gives him like a renewed power. He's got some young guys with cash kind of right by his side there. And so while this isn't a big deal, I don't think from the perspective of, oh yeah, we're changing over, Jerry's gone or whatever, he's still going to have his hands all in this stuff. It does seem like the last 2 years they've pivoted to, yeah, we realize the infrastructure fucking sucks. They hired a bunch of analysts and R&D guys. They're rebuilding the Dominican Academy, right? They seem to be moving forward on. They hired Ryan Fuller as the hitting director. They hired Brian Bannister as the pitching director. The infrastructure stuff is starting to happen. So while this is like for the casual fan, this ain't shit yet. For someone who's addicted to the White Sox, like, you know, hit me little by little. We're seeing some buzz. It's improving a little bit.
Yeah. Because to me it's like I posted on my Instagram story the clip of Hawkeye telling Black Widow and I think it was INGHY, don't give me hope. That's what I posted. Dante, you know, I know what you were saying in the group chat and stuff, but you know, you have been the beacon of White Sox optimism for us. So what you feeling about this move?
I mean, like I said, I know you joked about how long that tunnel is, but I mean, it's just a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just that little peak we've been waiting for. Like you just said, Beef, when we've been getting, you know, shitty news about this team for the past 2-3 seasons, it's like it's something in the right way. And although, like you said, we won't be major players for free agents right out the gate, the fact that you know, they're making these cash infusions public is to let people know that, you know, essentially we hear what you've been saying. Like we know, like you said, the infrastructure sucks. They need to start putting some, even though I love, I still call it Comiskey, start putting some money into that, you know, fixing it up, just being more modern. Yeah, and just doing things like that. So I know he won't be taking over immediately, but it's just the fact that Jerry, and I think even the fact that they outlined the timeline for us, they didn't have to tell us the exact timeline, but to let us know that, you know, 2029 is one of the first seasons you can start to look for a potential change. It probably won't happen, but I also think even though we know how much Jerry has, you know, enjoyed making money off this franchise, I think it gets to a point, he is a guy who loves baseball, and when you're like, it's one thing to be a doormat, but when you're like the laughing stock of baseball, I think Jerry hates that. I think he does not like that. He does not like that attached to his name and this franchise in this city. So I think it may get to a point where, like you said, 2029, when he first has that opportunity and things still haven't turned around, these prospects aren't, you know, at least getting them into like a wild card situation where he's like, you know what, you can have it. I still got the Bulls. I still got my cash cow. I'll just, you know, be a minority owner, sit back in the background. You guys run it all. So, I mean, for me, that's really what it is. Like I said, it's a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how long that tunnel is. We just now have something to look forward to. And if you get, like you said, the Ishbia brothers, there's no guarantee that we're going to win a World Series. But at the same time, if they start taking swings like they did in Phoenix, I'm perfectly fine with that. I've sat here and I watched them, you know, try to penny pinch everybody. So if you spend some money and we don't win, okay, I can give you, we tried, bro. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that sentiment because I've heard people say, well, they're not doing that great of a job running the Suns. And that's fair, right? But NBA and MLB are different. And also, we're White Sox fans. We've been fucking starving over here. We'll take a fucked up signing that you would, like you said, Dante, they at least tried. That's what we need. At least try some shit because they haven't even at least been trying on these big signings, you know?
Yeah, it's, you know, you talk about with the Suns, they have a Kevin Durant who, you know, KD's still KD, but he ain't what he used to be. But I think the biggest albatross with Phoenix is the fact they've had 4 coaches in like the last 5 years. And they've got arguably the worst contract in the NBA with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal there was a trade on deck to send him here. And he was like, no, I'm not going. Like, who gives Bradley Beal a no trade clause?
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Scott. And just in baseball standpoints, as a White Sox fan, I would pray for a Bradley Beal type contract to come to this team just to give me something to watch. Like, please.
So, like,
bring him here.
Who would that be? Like, I'm trying to think of a player that you can get. Like,
I mean,
so you would give Rafael Devers an insane contract. Like,
yes, I'm gonna say contract. Like Devers at the beginning of the season when he was 0 for whatever. Bring him here, please. We'll try to fix it. We
almost did it with Manny Machado, didn't we?
Well, we lowballed him. We gave him
lowballed. We got
$100 million in incentives.
I mean, gave it to weak ass family members, which you could have just gave to him. That shit still just
don't. Casual ass back now.
Still blows my mind. still blows my mind. But no, but bang, from casual. What's your thoughts on this?
Now, let me again stress that I've been a Cubs fan. I mean, I was a Cubs fan at first. Then they snaked me, so I've been a White Sox fan since 1993. So, and I used to be deep into baseball, but between football and age, I have fell out. With that being said, when I look at this deal, I was already skeptical when I started looking at dates and things of that nature. And then when I look at everything, it's like, all right, call me when he takes over the team. However, my only thought was how much, if you know that there's a plan in place to take over the team, how much of an impact will this be in the front office? Like, when do we start seeing a time where the Abisha family starts to have some type of say in some of the things that's going on over the team that they will eventually take over? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm curious if they don't have some sort of say already and aren't starting to get a little bit of a sway because of the things they're doing that are non-Reinsdorfian. It could be what Dante was saying. He was so embarrassed by how bad the team got that he relented to the prospects of, we got to rebuild our Dominican Academy. We got to buy all this tech. I heard Brian Bannister on the radio in 670. I don't listen to 670 much, but I heard that there was an interview. So I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. And he was talking about the pitching lab that they've built in Arizona. They got all this technology and shit and the pitching and hitting lab. And that's why they've been sending some of these minor leaguers when they're getting out of, they have a slump or whatever. They just take them out of play. They send them out there for a week or two, work on all their shit, analyze, and then they put them back in the game plan. So this is shit they would never do in the past. Around. It would be Coop's, Coop will fix them bullshit back in the day, right? Now they're using computers and tech. And they got biomechanics and whatever the fuck that means. They're doing a lot of things that, and it's not really showing up yet, right? We're seeing a little better ball at 35th Street, but we're way far away. Like, we don't have the talent yet for you to really see it there, but it does sound like they're doing a lot of non-Reinsdorfian things. And so I wonder how much the Ishbias currently have their hands in this a little bit and will have it as you go. And how much Reinsdorf, maybe he almost feels like, I'll mentor these guys. I'll bring these guys along. They know things and they're smart, but they're not part of this world. And I'll bring them along in this world. And so I'm curious to see. I don't know, but it feels like there's a little, some fingerprints.
But to that question, to what you just said, and the White Sox have not done a good job in development. So could it be a situation where they've been shitty developers, but now that we start to implement these things, we'll probably get something out of the people that we got? Like, could it be a chance that we actually become better than what we have been because of the things that we implement?
Yeah, I think so, because they started infusing a lot of people from outside. This thing had just the same guys running the thing. And look, at the beginning, way back when you're talking in the mid-2000s, Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn are really smart baseball guys. But they are not exposed then to all the other shit that's going on in the major. They're not bringing in outside talent in their front office. You saw very little of that, and no one poached from them. So you fast forward to the end of their term, fucking 18 years later, these guys have regressed. They don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore compared to the rest of the guys out there. And that's why the Hahn rebuild failed so badly. They thought they were smart, but they weren't smart. Now, Getz, I don't think Getz is a brainiac or anything, but he knew whatever was in here sucked and went and got good guys from everywhere else. He got Venable from Texas, and he got Ryan Fuller from Baltimore, and he got Brian Bannister from San Francisco, and brought all these guys in from other places. Hey, brain drain? What are you guys doing there? Teach us. Build all this shit in here. And so that's got to be an improvement to the infrastructure part. We'll see, though. We don't know how good they are at finding talent, and we're gonna figure that out as time goes. But it from the positivity standpoint, it looks better than what the last thing was. So we'll see. I'm willing to give them a little run,
Yeah, I definitely think that's fair. And I think, too, like, when you see small stuff like that and the way that things are developed, I've talked about this with the Bears, and we're going to talk about it later, too, with, like, last couple weeks I've been at Hallis. I'm like, yo, this is actual coaching. Like, I ain't supposed to be excited about, like, stupid shit like coaches coaching. But I'm like, oh, my God, look at Antoine Randall. He's actually coaching. So it's like you seeing stuff with the White Sox is like, okay, we haven't seen this before. We haven't seen that before. And so maybe there's a thing for the change. But this news started this week with news that the Chicago Fire are opening up a new stadium. And this is when you don't have broke boy owners. Their owners are legit billionaires, liquid billionaires. Like, you know what? Fuck the city. We going to finance this ourselves. And that was a space that Jerry wanted, a little South Loop 78 thing, and they even put out a press release a couple days ago saying that we still have plans to do that. Beef, what's your opinion on basically the Chicago Fire deboing Jerry Reinsdorf, and do you think there's a way that he could finagle his way to be able to share that stadium with the Chicago Fire?
I mean, I loved it. I think most White Sox fans loved it. They love to see him get stuck a little bit, especially when he's crying poor and trying to get all the money from the city and the state. Exactly. And to see an owner actually step up with their money up front. Now, I don't know what the end of that will look like with the Fire. I don't know how. I know there is TIF money set aside, so there is going to be some public money in there. And it makes sense because they've never been able to develop that neighborhood right there. I mean, I drive by it all the time, and there's been nothing there as long as I can remember. But at least he's getting out front and putting the money in there, the Fire owner. I do think there probably is a path to getting both stadiums in there. I saw a rendering that sort of showed the White Sox stadium will be butting up against like 16th Street, whereas the Fire stadium will be butting up against Roosevelt, and that in theory, there's enough room there. But I think we're still at the point where I don't think it's impossible that the White Sox don't stay right here on 35th Street and rebuild. That, the Ishbias might look at it like, we could get this shit for nothing, and then we'll build our own shit right here,
And that's another thing too. Like, I don't understand why they need a new one. I think he's not even 40 years old yet. To me, I've been to a lot of ballparks. They still got a top tier ballpark over there. Like, to me, if there was any problem with the White Sox, it ain't their park. It ain't the park. It ain't the food. It ain't the liquor. None of that. Like, you can have a damn good time at that park and not give a fuck about what's on the field. So I don't know if that. Like,
That's what I do most nights.
Anything you can restructure. It's not like, to me, when you look at the Bears where they need something. So that to me was kind of odd as well.
Or how the United Center don't have cup holders.
Yeah, no, but to your point, Bangin, it's
I
it's
love
funny you
how
say
I
that.
tweeted that, and everybody realizes it now. There's no fucking cup holders in the United States.
It's funny you say that, but I think that's the problem with Comiskey. It gets to a point where when you haven't done the little tweaks here and there over the years, it gets to the point where you got to just replace the whole shit. So I mean, I think I'm with you. I'm more so, let's just do what we just did. We built in the parking lot the last time. Let's do it again. Build it right there. Like, you have all this land, and Reinsdorf owns it, and it's like they wanted to, build up that area, and he's, shot it down a couple times. But it's like, bro, you have the land right there. Build a stadium, stay right on the damn Ryan, turn it toward downtown, and let's go. Like, I really don't see the issue. Then when you tear down the old stadium, you build your little plaza, everything. Because I know, like, going up to the Battery, I get why teams want that. Like, it's a dope place to be on game day. Like, and like even the apartments where you live there, you see everybody has their Brave flags, and so it's just it makes sense.
And the Battery is far from Atlanta. Last time I was
there, oh yeah. Well, I mean, I just go there all. It's 15 minutes. No. The Battery? No, it's 15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes.
It's 15 minutes.
It's 15. Well, I kind of feel like it took me an hour to get in the city limits.
But that's because the traffic, traffic.
Depending on
where you catch traffic. Everybody drive like assholes in Atlanta.
Yeah, but I think the other part of what y'all saying to me, and this is somebody who I remember going to Comiskey and looking over when they was tearing it down. They had that bridge right there where you could go look and see them taking it down. Like, I remember that. I'm also a realist too. Like, this is the greatest opportunity of gentrification that you can get. Like, when all of these things that's going on, when you look at some of these stadiums, like you said, what you see in Atlanta, what you see in NBA cities, what you saw with the NHL. Like, when you see people not only in stadiums but outside of it, it's like when they said Penn State becomes like the second big. Shut up, Orlando.
Bang remembers this up there.
It makes fun of you, Bang. I'm older than you are, man. I'm about to be 47 in 2 weeks, man.
It's Orlando.
Some shit, man.
Like,
that's some bullshit.
It's Orlando. I'm gonna fight him one day. But no, I just look at, and then being off of an INGHY. Like, we wasn't thinking about gentrification when you'd had old Comiskey or new Comiskey, now Ratefield. I think as we look at this right now, I think, Dante, you're right. Like, knock that down, go do it where you did it before, but build up that area, and in turn, you kind of do what y'all trying to do anyway, because it's not like the stadium is that far away from the South Loop in the first
Right.
place.
Exactly.
So I mean, while it's gentrification, depending on how you do it, could be an unfortunate thing. Like in these situations when you have billionaires, I think in some cases you have no choice. They have no choice but to build up that area, not just with the stadium, but everything around them, and they haven't really done that in my opinion.
And truth be told, I mean, I live right here, and I'm a De La Salle kid, so I went, I'm right to school right across the expressway there, and we were talking about this, spitballing ideas. You got the parking lots, right? All that shit. They should build like a little, I don't know, it's like a little hood over the Dan Ryan so you could walk, because there's a couple empty lots right there in Bronzeville too. That whole area could be the ballpark village. And that would be tremendous, right? I mean, like you just have it right, have like a pedway on top of the Dan Ryan, and there you go. You got you can have everything there, and you don't have to tear anything down. There's just available space, you know.
Yeah, and like they are definitely looking to upgrade their area. I just got a letter in the mail. They're trying to buy my grandmother's house on 47th and Shields. So it's like,
I believe it, yeah.
Like, nah, bro. So like they're definitely coming for the area, but I think if you're the White Sox, that's even more of an opportunity for you to stay there, and you can continue to be a staple in that neighborhood and just stick around.
Yep. Dante, y'all gonna have a family meeting like on this Christmas. We're like, we ain't telling mama.
Oh no, we not. We already said we're not selling. Like anytime they start telling you, hey, we need this, we know we're not selling it. We're not doing it.
But and also too, I feel like the White Sox need to stay on the South Side. Like to me, that's like part of the allure. And I hate when people say, "Oh, I don't want to get robbed over there." You know, it's the only thing I'm scared of over there: the fucking police. Okay, that's the only thing I'm worried about over there. It's the fucking police.
That's what I'm like, gentrification, but because the only thing you worried about is the police.
Like, yeah, like you have nothing to worry about till you get past the 95th stop on the red line. Once you get past 95th, all bets are off. You know what I'm saying? Like after that, but you were straight right there, man. But Beef, one last thing for you before we get you out of here, man. You talk about tonight is Mexican Heritage Night up at Comiskey. But I feel like there's some things that there is that you can watch. First of all, they've already got 20 wins, which is and look at what Colorado did. We ain't gonna have that worst record much longer. Colorado might be the worst sports team I've ever seen in my life, and I saw the 0-16 Detroit Lions. So like they might be worse than them. But you got you had one of the rookies at a walk-off last night. You got Kyle Till debuting tonight. What's some things that you would tell the fans to watch in the meantime while we're waiting for all this change to happen?
Yeah, so I mean, first things first, the White Sox in the Rule 5 draft, they had the first pick, and they scooped up a guy from the Milwaukee Brewers, Shane Smith, who's been their de facto ace right now. He's probably the leader for AL Rookie of the Year. He's been terrific just straight out of the gate. The White Sox, they have him. They had incumbent Davis Martin and Jonathan Cannon. Sean Burke has really stepped up over the last 3 or 4 starts. And so they have this really young, cheap rotation that is kind of pitching well. On the hitter side, you kind of like, oh, it's desolate. But then they switched Miguel Vargas' swing a little bit. And Miguel Vargas got hot starting in May. And now he's looking more like a middle of the order hitter, a guy who looks competent playing third base. They called up Chase Meidroth, who's one of these tiny, small, like grindy guys. Like he looks like what Nick Madrigal should have been. Where there's a lot of bat to ball, but he takes walks and everything. He's actually a decent defender at shortstop, which is surprising to me. He's been an on-base machine. He's been playing real well. The aforementioned Kyle Till that they're calling up today. Tim Elko was the guy who had the walk-off yesterday. He's probably more of an org guy than he is like a real prospect, but he's been okay so far. They have Edgar Caro, who was traded for kind of before the old guys left, and he's a catcher. They have that catcher tandem of Caro and Kyle Till. So there is an infusion of young talent. I don't know if any of the young talent, though, is like the superstar level guys. These feel like the supporting actors of a future great White Sox team. But they're still fun to watch. And I've been telling people all year that it might not be much difference in the talent between the 2024 White Sox and 2025 White Sox. But the 2025 White Sox, they play through the whistle. When they're down in the 9th inning, they get a rally going. There is usually some hope in the game. It's not like, oh, we're down 2 runs, this game is over. They seem to play with a purpose. It might have to do with that they're all young. They don't know any better. It might be Will Venable, the manager. I'm not sure yet, but it just looks better than it looked last year, that dead-ass team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the most important thing, too, is Chicago fans can actually watch the games now. because Chicago Sports Network is now on Xfinity. They put a little caveat in there. You got to order like the ultimate tier because I woke up this morning and that shit was not on my TV. So, I'm not paying for it, until
Scott, I had it because I'm one of the biggest suckers in the world. I pay for every fucking channel that I never watch. And so I was like, I know that shit's going to be on my TV. And I looked, I'm like, yeah, I got it. I probably watch it when they're on the road. But yeah, I'm a huge sucker with that shit.
Yeah, I haven't, but I will buy it when the night before Derrick Rose jersey retirement. That's when I do it because I want to see that shit.
Call.
Like,
yeah,
that's about it. But Dante, I know, you talk a lot about the team. You and Mikey also. But what's some stuff that you looking at on the current or coming up roster?
I mean, everybody he just named, but I think I'm more so excited about the fact we've actually graduated from being bad to being fun bad to where like it's actually worth watching because like you said it's a whole lot of supporting actors, a lot of guys who could be a solid 6 hitter or shit like that, and so you're really waiting for that guy. I do want to see what Colson Montgomery finally does when they do give him a shot because they sent him down to Arizona, he went through the lab and he's come back, he's really been hitting the cover off the ball. So seeing what you have for him, because I do think that's important. If you can lock down the shortstop position, we all know how important that position is. So if you have a guy in-house that's a guy and we can figure that out now, I think that's good because if not, then you need to start trying to see, well, what else do we do? What do we do? Do we wait and eventually when we do get the monies pay for a shortstop, which I don't think that'll happen for a while. So it's like, do you bring another guy into the farm system and try to build him up? So just seeing where you go from that. So I think Colson is really my biggest project I want to see for the rest of the season. I think with the pitching staff, we have so many arms. I think that put me at ease a little bit to like, even if some of those guys are converted to relievers, everybody doesn't pan out as a starter. I'm okay with that. But at this point, we need to start seeing some of these position players pan out because we have a streak that's not that good. When you're looking at Andrew Vaughn, when you look at Gavin go over to San Diego,
bro, look at everybody who's in that lineup, bro.
Like it's insane. Like that first rebuild, we still have like a sour taste in our mouth from that because it was just disappointing to have. It's one thing to, I guess it's because on the north side, we saw so many prospects hit. And then we're like, okay, bet we're going to load up the cover. Let's get it. We're going to do the same thing. And it was just like, nah, it was look up, then right down. So for me, I think it's really more so understanding that, yes, we're still years away from being competitive, but we've graduated to a fun bad team. Like I can actually sit there and watch the White Sox now. Last year, I couldn't watch, bro. I would just turn it off.
I think fun bad is something fun bad team. Right, exactly.
It is.
Yeah, like give me something to watch. Give me something to at least go to the ballpark for a little bit. And like for me personally, like the last rebuild destroyed me. And I think we're seeing the same thing with Baltimore right now, where you rely too much on your. And even thing with the Cubs, like the Cubs squeezed all of that because look at everybody. Like Javi's having a little renaissance right now, but for the most. Jed Hoy and them made the right decision getting rid of him at the time they did.
Kyle Schwarber's the best one.
Yeah,
Kyle Schwarber's the best one. He's raking. I didn't know Chris Bryant still has a Major League Baseball card, or like I don't know what the fuck he doing. Like it's that bad. Like, and if you look at everybody with the White Sox, all the position players, Yohan Moncada terrible. Like Tim Anderson, the only athlete to get worse after infidelity. He's not even in the league anymore.
Yeah, worse after infidelity in the punch. He got the sonic when they say
the
sonic rings. When they say he got the sonic rings knocked out.
I almost forgot about that.
That's Tim Anderson. Like Tim Anderson legit had the sonic rings knocked out of him. He has no rings.
And if you're gonna we know the White Sox, unless the Eastwoods when they take control. They flip the script on that. You're always going to be, try to just build a homegrown team. You got to hit on position players. Hitting on pitchers is something we do. You know what I'm saying? It's just it is what it is. Got to hit on position players, man. But, Beef, always good to talk to you, man. Anything you want to let the people know, what episodes y'all got coming up for the pod and whatever?
We're doing, we do the Sunday Soak. That's every Sunday. That's a show from my hot tub. It's a 15, 20-minute show. We have normal one-on-one podcasts on Thursdays, and I do a smaller podcast called The INGHY, which is usually one-on-one interview style. This week I've got Chicago sports radio legend Julie Swyka joining me. I don't know if you guys remember Julie Swyka, but she'll be on the show. She's a big Sox fan, so that's the stuff we got going. We got some we got a live event June 17th. That's actually my birthday at Cork and Kerry. We're gonna do a little pregame thing there. Hanging out. And then obviously we got our bobblehead game that's coming up September 16th. But you can go to FromThe108.com. You can find all this shit there.
from the 108.com, man. Get everything you need for them, man. Beef, always good to holler at you, my guy. We'll holler at you.
Good to see you guys. Take care, man.
Yes, sir. We are going to transition to the beloved, aka the Chicago Bears, man. Before we get into my actual minicamp recap, we were just talking about stadiums with the White Sox. We got to talk stadiums with the Bears because it is June 6th, and we are still really nowhere near or closer to the stadium that we're supposed to have in fucking Arlington. So when minicamp started on Tuesday, that was the news of the Chicago Fire thing coming out, and there was a vote that happened with the state of Illinois to see if they were going to be able to go through with the actual building and trying the next steps of the Bear Stadium. And it didn't get voted on. There were other things that voted on, more important stuff, like, outside of a sports stadium, and it just didn't get voted on. But there's a lot of people saying that, the Bears have to do a better job of getting Democrats in Illinois on their side, because a lot of politicians don't want the team to leave the city of Chicago. I mean, the mayor himself just said yesterday, we can't let this team leave. So I feel like, for fans, I was talking to our boy Mikey about this, and, he said for fans, we don't give a fuck about the stadium. This is me, I give a fuck. I'm tired of working up Social Field. But I just want to know it's being worked on. And it kind of feels like nothing's being moved. Now, there's not really panic, from people who have talked about it. Shout out Adam Hogue. From CHGO and Athletics, and there's not really nothing to worry about, but it's moving a lot slower, and a lot's going to depend on the September vote to see if they can put actual, shovels into the ground and get this moving. There's also been rumors that maybe the Bears move slow on this because the closer they get to 2033, when the lease goes out, the less they got to pay to get out of that lease. So I don't know. It's obviously frustrating for me. I'm tired of hearing about this shit. And when I got the practice on Tuesday, I was like, well, Kevin Warren needs to get to work. Because we need to. I think Kevin Warren is learning that it's much tougher to do things in the city of Chicago than it is to do in Minneapolis. Ben, what's your thoughts on the stadium? I feel like we've been talking about this many, many times. What's your opinion on just how the process is going?
The fan in me is like, yo, get this shit out the way. Like, can we get something? Can we know where we at? Can we see a real rendering, not no fake, phony, this is what it could be thing? Like, can we see a press conference with some red tape and some scissors cutting it, and then y'all putting the damn shovel in the ground with the hard hats? Can we get something? Especially when you see the Chicago Fire doing what they're doing. You see other NFL teams. You see the Tennessee Titans doing what they're doing. And then you start thinking about prospects of Super Bowls and NCAA tournaments and even WrestleManias and all of that. As a fan, you like, yo, let's get this on the road. But when you look at it from a business side of things, you like, yo, that's actually the more concerning part about it. It's like, yo, we own this land, but you was fighting about taxes. Now that's done. But you're fighting about other things. You're really finding out how cash poor the Chicago Bears organization is. So then when you start seeing shit like the owner of the Chicago Fire, or when you start seeing the Abisha brothers, and you start to be like, yo, Virginia gone. Selling shit. Sell it to somebody so we can get what we need to get now. So it's a double-edged sword, but it's all kind of negative. And we want to, I think me and other Chicago Bears fans want to see the positive.
Dante, what's your thoughts on this, man? Like, I feel like it's been a mixed bag. Some fans care about the stadium, some don't. Some actually want them to try to find a way to stay in Chicago. What's your thoughts on the updates you've been receiving so far?
I mean, this is the energy that got the Chargers sharing the stadium with the Rams. Like, it's just very much broke ass family energy. Obviously it's crazy for me to say that, but I mean, it's what it is. This is a small family mom and pop shop operation, and they don't have the billions of dollars that these venture capitalists or people from finance and people from other industries have. They just don't have it to fork over and help make this happen. I think a lot of people forget when the Rams didn't buy Hollywood Park. The woman who owns Walmart bought Hollywood Park and gave it to her fucking husband. Like, big boy
Facts.
shit. Like the Bears don't have that type of energy. They don't have that type
Steve
of brand.
Ballmer bought the Forum with $4 billion cash.
He said, "Here y'all go, just take it." But no,
Exactly.
we don't have owners with that type of energy. So I think they're just dragging their feet. And now with you, if it gets to a point where all right, we can pay half of what we would have had to pay to get out of this lease at Soldier Field, and then we still end up going to Arlington, then you just look dumb. So Mr. Shovels in the ground, Kevin Warren is it's June, brother. So I mean, the clock is ticking. So we're gonna see, bro.
Put
Yeah,
them
you
shovels
bring up-
in the ground.
I think also too, man. Like I tweeted that too. Like this is what, and when we say broke boy owners, like obviously they're richer than us, but compared to other sports owners, these motherfuckers are broke. So as a fan, look, I just want this shit to at least start. Okay, we're working the right way, we're going in the right direction, and for selfish reasons, I want to see what other events are going to be there as well, man. So
Like
will keep you
like
updated
Jim
on that.
Ryan, the Ryan family got more money, and they're minority owners, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
The family doesn't want to sell, which is something I thought would be played around with after Virginia McCaskey passed away. But then George came out and said, "Nah, we want to stay in the family forever." So I'm pretty sure there are some McCaskies out there that want to sell the team, but it's literally 50 of them niggas. So I don't know. So
is there
but let's
hey Scott, let me ask you my
Yeah,
bad,
go ahead.
but let me ask you a question. This is actually something that I want to ask you. After Jim Irsay's death, his daughters really are the leads, and they was actually the leads when he was dealing with this shit. Like, who's the head McCaskey in charge in this situation?
George.
Like, so
George.
from an ownership perspective.
Yeah, it's George. George
wow.
is the one. Like you see the other ones, like I see like there's like a sister or a nephew that I see around, but George is the one who runs the ownership. But honestly, like Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles run that fucking team. But if we're talking like on the ownership level, it's George.
Yeah,
like,
I was
see the others. Yeah, you only see the others for like big events like what's the thing? Like new coach hires or when they hand out the Brian Piccolo Award or some shit.
I was wondering if it was like a family member. Like normally when like this happens, there's like a family member or three that be like at the forefront from the ownership side of things.
That's George. That's George. Like I saw George at practice on Wednesday. Some on Wednesday. It's George, 100%. You don't see any others unless it's a special.
You would think it was like that young upstart kid in the family that they'd be like, yo, he could be a good person.
So you're looking for a Kendall Roy? You're looking for a Kendall Roy?
Dead ass. Like with the two Ursays, like it's his daughters, and I forgot which daughter it was, but they was like, she's more the owner. This person does this, does that. Like you see that in families. This is the first family ownership that I've seen that didn't have that. Like it was Virginia whole life, basically. That's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Nikhil, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, there's no Shiv, there's no Kendall, there's no Roman. There is Connor. And then that
room full of Connors. We fucked.
Right. Right.
We just gotta hope that Bunk Suit and Ryan Poles are
and I gotta watch
team, man.
And I gotta watch Mountain Head too. Just thinking about Succession. I gotta go through round 3 of my rewatch and watch Mountain Head with Steve Carroll now.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too. I'm definitely overdue for a Succession rewatch, man. But let's talk about minicamp. Minicamp is a wrap. In fact, all organized team activities are a wrap until training camp. Now Tuesday they are practicing, but that's more for younger players, mainly rookies. And there's gonna be some year 2 players who are gonna be there. I know Rome said yesterday he's gonna be there. Do not know if Caleb's gonna be there, but I'm guessing that if Rome's gonna be there, Caleb's gonna be there. But for the most part, all the big team activities are done. The Bears did this early. A lot of teams are starting their minicamp next week. Bears did this early so that the players can have a little longer of a break heading into training camp. So we're officially on the clock 6 weeks before training camp starts. And man, I'm gonna play my recap video from day 2. Some very interesting quotes, interviews from Tyreek Stevenson and Jaquan Brisker. Gervon Dexter. I got some Gervon takes for you, Bang. That I want to play this and then we'll talk about that. What is going on, y'all? It's your boy Scott here with your 79th and Hallis, and I'm not gonna hold you. Bears minicamp day 2 recap, man. It is was raining. It was raining today, which was complete opposite of how practice was yesterday. Practice yesterday was 90 degrees and hot and windy. Today it was raining during the camp. I mean, actually doing practice. But as you can see right now, look pretty fucking good outside, man. But we are here, man. It was if you care about stats and things like that, or how an offense looks in the first week of June, then I'll tell you this was a pretty good practice for the offense. Really felt like Caleb was in control. He went one drive, like a 94-yard drive, went like 6 of 6 or something like that, and he also had 2 touchdowns. So if you care about June stats, Caleb had a good day. We spoke to a lot of defenders today, man. So let's start with Jaquan Brisker. We all know what happened with Jaquan last year. He got that concussion, I think it's his 3rd career concussion, and he missed not only the London game against Jacksonville, but missed the rest of the season. But it was good to see him here. He was happy to see us, and so we talked to him about everything that went through. We haven't spoken to him in almost a year. Kind of feels like what that whole process went and how he's excited about getting into this new season.
I mean, it's hard. I love football. Been playing since I was 4. It's hard being away from ball. So just had to keep my mind right and just lock in.
At the risk of a silly question, what did it feel like when week by week by week you still weren't cleared?
Mm-hmm. It was hard. It was hard. Being away from football, especially week to week. It was kind of getting sad and depressing and things like that. But got over it. It's time to move on, and I'm back now.
Big shouts to Jaquan. I think he's going to have a monster year on deck if he does play, man. Let's move on with the defense. Another big storyline from last year was Gervon Dexter. How was he going to be in the second year? He had 5 sacks last year, and he's coming up for a big year this year. He looks big. He's been in the gym. He's gained some big muscle out there, and he's been a more vocal leader, even more vocal in the press conference. I don't remember Gervon talking as much as he did. He was real talkative today, and he told us about why he feels like he's stepping up his leadership style and just the way that Grady Jarrett and Montez Sweat have been really big for him. So let's see what Gervon had to say.
I mean, there's different ways of leading. Obviously, like for me, when I watch Montez, he's leading in that way. I'm following him. So there's different types of leaders. We have obviously now we got Grady Jarrett who can lead by example and vocally. So yeah, I think the defensive line definitely needs a guy that can step up and let you know.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Tyreek Stevenson. We all know the rough year that Tyreek had last year, man. Tyreek being the butt of a lot of internet jokes, being the butt of a lot of media jokes, national media jokes, because of how everything went in the Hail Mary game against Commanders. But he feels he's got a new breath of fresh air with this new defense here led by Dennis Allen, and said that he's ready to close the book on close the chapter on that book that happened last year and wait for something new. So he told us what he feels about that, and also about being coached by Dennis Allen this new year for him, year 3.
They real big on the details. Like I've been in a program, Kirby Smart and all that, where the details is the main thing, but I've never been where it's like you're gonna go inside that detail and fix that. So I feel like the details that they are trying to install in us will help us on the field and kind of off the field with how we process everything.
Are you excited to have a fresh start this year after what happened to you last year and after what happened to the team last year?
Pretty much, yeah. Still with some of the guys from that team last year, and we all want to be the best defense in this. The defense want to be the best defense this year, so I wouldn't say a fresh start. We just say some of the guys come out with the same mentality. We add some pieces in, that's some dogs, and it's kind of hunting.
So it is, as you can see, it's been a busy day up here at Hallis Hall, man. Tomorrow is the final day of minicamp. I unfortunately will not be there. They have one more media availability on Tuesday. Unfortunately, I won't be there again. Also, I have a doctor's appointment to go to, but check on deck for everything I will be having. Training camp is just 6 weeks away, and of course, we'll be talking about everything Bears on I'm Not Gonna Hold You, and also 79th and Hallis through these next couple weeks as well, man. It is your boy Scott at Barber Chair Scott on all social media platforms. 79th and Hallis, I'm Not Gonna Hold You, the Barber's Chair, and of course, HB Media, our partners, man. So I'm gonna holler at y'all. We up out of here. That is your boy light-skinned Tyrone Copper reporting for duty from Hallis Hall. But yeah, man. As somebody, I've been to these practices the last 3 weeks. So my personal feeling on this, granted, it's May/June. take all this with a grain of salt. None of this means nothing. I've been on record saying I do not give a fuck until this team is playing meaningful football in the month of November, which they have not played in 5 fucking years. And really, honestly, if you want to be real, 7, because in 2020, there was nobody in the fucking building because we were still in quarantine. It was bubble hoops. But so that's when I'll get. But if I have to go on just how I'm feeling today, I feel a lot better because of this beautiful man on this screen right here. Ben Johnson has a plan, and you see the plan being executed in live time. Some of the shit that Caleb does wrong, he stand on it. There was this one play. It was like a 15-yard pass to Roschon Johnson that was completed. He cussed Caleb out because he threw the ball too long. Now, I do feel that Caleb is still holding on to the ball a little bit too long. He threw a couple interceptions this week. If you care about June's stats, I think 2 of them were his fault. The other 2, I'll probably blame the receivers. Either way, I still think that he still has a ways to go before he lets the ball out quicker. But I just love seeing the coaches coach, man. Like, I've been covering this team for 5 seasons. This is my 5th season, my 4th full-time covering the team. And I remember the last year of Nagy, and so I don't want to grade Nagy on that because I kind of he felt like he was on his way out. So I'm not going to grade him on that. But the 3 years of the flus that I saw, I've never seen coaches with their group on the coaching field. I know that sounds crazy, but I never seen it. We'll see Antoine Randall working with the wide receivers and being real aggressive. Eric Bieniemy has been, he looks like a steal. Like, I have been so impressed from the running backs that I've seen. DeAndre Swift, he's hell bent on having a great year. Their draft pick, Eric Mungai, like he's been looking good. And I really think, I might be wrong, I'm expecting a big year from Roschon Johnson. He's been really, really getting on him as well. And you see, one thing I also see is like sometimes I would just watch the practice like he's a media member, not doing anything else. Ben Johnson's taking notes. All the coaches are taking notes. Al Harris does this thing where if it's 11 on 11s, he's standing in the back of the field and he's looking at it from like a safety cornerback position and he's watching everything and taking notes as the scrimmage is going on. Ben Johnson taking notes. He's on a walkie-talkie. It's a full operation, and even the little small shit, like Tyreek just said in the video we just played. Dennis Allen does the same thing. The attention to detail is just off the charts, and that's something that I'm excited about. And I'll say this too: it feels like the offense compared to how it looked 3 weeks ago in the Walter Payton Center for the second practice of the offseason, it looks so much better now. And I still think he has a ways to go. The offensive line looks good. This is the first time I'm like, okay, I'm not the defense to me. I'm still a little worried about that D line, and we'll wait to see how that's like. But I feel a little more confident, man. If I had to rate just how I feel right now, I'm very cautiously optimistic that we hired the right people. Bang, man, what you think about what you saw, what I've said, what you heard? And, coming out of these, this is the last thing we're going to see from him until training camp.
Man, I told y'all in the beginning, I thought dude was a psycho. And every time y'all open y'all mouth and y'all say anything about Ben Johnson, I get psycho. And psycho not just in like demeanor, even though he getting into his players, but being very meticulous on how he grades his players, how he scouts his own players, how he grooms and grows his own players. Not about to act like my job is like an NFL coach, but as what I do, one of the things I enjoy the most is like grooming and growing people, and if they want to be that. So it seems like that the Bears want to be that, and they're seeing the benefits of it. Like, I've seen so many players say that they did not expect this. Like, they didn't expect what was going to happen. And for some of those who went through 2 regimes, or at least, just going through the flu thing, it's like these are things that we're not used to. And these are things that's also going to get us better as well. It's almost like people are getting back to being coached. It feels like players are admitting that they haven't been coached. They've been tolerated. They've been, good job, but they haven't been coached. So when we look at the Bears and we get the training camp, Like I'm excited for the first time in years. I'm actually excited about growth from training camp. It's about how you see somebody when you first saw them to when you see them now. Like I've heard good things about Ozzy, the tackle drafted from Boston College. Like I've heard so much good things about him. I've heard how, like, even you said that Gavon Dexter has put on like 15 pounds of lean weight and how he's been showing his leadership. I saw something where they said that the demeanor from Tyreek Stevenson has been different. You see, Swift at the press conference, but see him on the field, and it's you want to see growth. Everybody talks about want to see growth, but I think now you're like, man, no matter what, I think we have the good person in place because we consistently hear about coaching and not necessarily just talking coach speak. We're here coaching, and I'm excited about that.
Dante, I know you said you don't have much on this, but I did want to ask you this. I know you're in wait and see mode like a lot of Bears fans are, but what do you want to see from training camp coming out? Like, what's some stuff that you want to hear as a fan?
A lot of players saying that they've been being held accountable more than usual. Like you said, last year we all kind of fell in love with Flus and his nickname for every player and all that bullshit. I want to see people being held accountable. I want you telling me that people are getting yelled at for lining up in the wrong spot. Just the attention to detail, because those are the things that are really going to matter. Also, like you said, I'm more concerned with the O-line and the D-line, even though they put more money into the O-line. So hearing those reports are important to me, seeing just the chemistry being built there, and if we found some with Ozzy, because for me, 6'8", 320, you're not gonna sit on the bench, dog. Like, you're gonna play somewhere. Like, I just feel like there's no reason why, if he can't, he should be able to stick at that left tackle spot, and I think that could change a lot. So I'm really interested in that. But other than that, that's really about it. That's really it for me. Caleb is gonna be who Caleb is gonna be. I think the talent is there, and I think Ben is there to get him to that spot. So unless he just somehow stops working, which I don't think will be the case, I think this is a guy who wants to be pushed. He wants to be better, so we won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and there's one thing too that Ben said, that Caleb has been there every day for the last 6 weeks. So I think that's very well too. Just a couple notes I had that we can wrap this episode up, man. I do have some concerns. A couple concerns I have. I am concerned about the defensive line. I'm concerned about the defensive line. I haven't seen much Deo out there. You know, we signed him from the Colts. Like, he's been out there, but I really feel like when somebody like Dominique Robinson is having more flashes, I'm just a little concerned. Like, obviously, it's June. We got a month and a half until actual training camp starts. Maybe this stuff changes. I'm still worried about that because I still think that's a weakness of this team. I think Grady Jarrett is going to help. I do think Gervon Dexter is going to have a better year. He had 5 sacks last year, and he's really taken more of a leadership role. Like, he's been way more talkative than before, so I'm expecting big things from him. But I think that if this team does play well, you know, and they're playing pretty good around trade deadline, it would not surprise me if they go out there and try to trade for a D lineman, because I still think that's an Achilles heel. Now, granted, we still got to see the offensive line play, but from what I've seen with O-line, I like what I see. The other concern I have is the rookies. Colston Loveland has not been practicing. Luther Burden III has not been practicing. Obviously, we knew about Colston Loveland ahead of time before they drafted him. He should be ready around training camp as well, and I heard maybe in a couple weeks before training camp. Luther Burden, we don't know. Ben Johnson, don't even know. He's nursing soft tissue injury. He had a hamstring issue and in rookie camp. So, hamstrings move a little bit more. But you got a month and a half later. I wouldn't be super, super concerned about that until training camp starts and he's not practicing. But what I say about I'm concerned with both isn't the injuries, is just being behind. Because as a rookie, you already got enough shit that you got to learn to begin with. But now you're coming into it where these guys will work on this for months at the time. And, I really feel like Luther Burden, this is a very talented wide receiver core. You know what I'm saying? You got DJ Moore. You got Roma Dunze. I think Roma's going to have a massive year. Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, who they signed from Washington, he's been making plays this camp. Like, he's going to be a guy that could be Caleb Williams' safety blanket. So I do feel they could be a little bit behind the 8 ball. So if there's any concern I had about that, that would be that. Bank brought up Ozzy. That is a big dude. That is a 100% a big dude. The left tackle battle is going to be a battle between him and we don't call him Yale folks. I will say this: I've seen a little bit of improvement from Yale folks. If you had to ask me right now, I do think
that's Hinsdale folks part 2. That's Hinsdale folks part 2. Give him his crib name, Hinsdale.
Okay, Hinsdale folks, my fault. I ain't gonna call them Yale folks. Hinsdale folks part 2. So every time I hear rookie injury, yeah, I definitely understand that, especially with hamstrings. But that's just my early, if I had a word right there. But it's gonna be a battle between Hinsdale folks and Ozzy. Braxton Jones is gonna have a chance to compete. Ben Johnson did state that he should be ready for training camp. But if you had to put a gun in my head right now, ask me who's gonna be starting left tackle week 1, I think it's gonna be Ozzy. I really do. I think he's a gamer. And there is going to be a backup battle between Case Keenum and Tyson Bagent. If you had to ask me right now who's having a better time, it's Case Keenum. He just looks better right now, and he's a leader, and he's really excited about being here, man. So, anything else Bears wise y'all had to ask or wanted to bring up before we wrap this up?
Go ahead, Dante. Oh, I'll go. You talk about the offensive line and the defensive line. You see improvements on the offensive line. You talk about Ozzy, but on the defensive line, is it enough for you to say, yo, let's spend what we need to spend to get Trey Hendrickson? Or do you feel like with training camp, we will have the bodies we need to make that defensive line effective?
I mean, I think the defensive line can be effective, and I think playing in a new scheme is going to help them more than anything. I always felt that Flu's scheme was more bend it, don't break. Dennis Allen has more an aggressive style of football. But I think they need a stud. They got one in Montez. And I think Grady Jarrett, granted, I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen that much of Grady Jarrett. I have not watched that much Atlanta Falcons football. I know Dante would know more than I would. But I think Grady's going. I'm expecting a big year from Gervon. And I think if you get a Trey Hendrickson, that instantly makes this defensive line, I don't know about elite, but very damn close to it, and that just makes everybody else better. And I know, we always hear, one thing I love about Ryan Poles is there's never any rumors. If there's rumors, it's bullshit, because Ryan Poles is usually just acts, and we just find out later that he's been in talks. We had no idea that he was in talks for Matthew Judon until we watched fucking Hard Knocks last year. So I do believe that the Bears and other teams are waiting for this Trey Hendrickson thing to get to training camp. Is he going to stand the line and really hold out and let those fines hit? But I do think they need to go make that trade. That's what I would do, because in the NFL, if this offense hits what we hope it needs to hit, you don't want your defensive line and your defense to be Achilles heel. But I think this is the top 3 secondary that we've got. Jaquan, I pray stays healthy, but he's great when he's actually on the field. You don't want your defensive line to be like the thing that's stopping you from being great. So I think that Ryan Poles will probably reassess. Nobody's telling me this. It's just an educated guess. I think once we kind of know what the team looks like in camp a little bit more, then I think it might be on the table.
The second question that I have for you is one of the names that Ben Johnson named was rookie. Was that Ruben Hippolyte? This was a draft pick that was actually shunned by a lot of people because they felt like that he could be a potential undrafted free agent candidate. But the Bears got him with a day 2 pick. Is there anybody else that you've seen personally outside of some of the people that we named that makes you go, oh, this person might be somebody for us?
I would say Mungai, the guy that got from Rutgers. I think he's had a really good camp. I think that, it'll be something where if you look at just a running back room, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them this year because a lot of people, and DeAndre Swift talked about this on Tuesday. Shout out our boy Herb, how Herb brought the question up, and I kind of felt like DeAndre's a little offended a little bit. He asked,
he was. I saw that live. I saw that live. He was.
It's like, what can I do in this Philly voice? So, I'm expecting big things from him. I don't know how much playing time Mungai is going to get, because I really think that Roshan is going to get a lot, because I really feel the sentiment amongst Ben Johnson And Ryan Poles has been that the past coaching staff use Roshan in the worst possible way that you would possibly use them. And I do think a better offensive line is going to help out tremendously. So if there's anyone I would say, it'll probably be him. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but he's somebody I'm like, oh, okay. That was a late round pick. But somebody who's been there a long time and somebody who I'm like, man, he's got to have some compromising photos on the Bears is Dominique Robinson, but he's actually looked pretty good. So I don't know if it's going to carry out. But those are just the observations that I've had.
Ben named him too. Ben named him too when he said it. I was like, for real?
Yeah, and one thing about Ben, you can ask Ben a question, he ain't gonna run from it. That's one thing I like about it. We don't get no cliches. Ben to keep it real. And I'll say this, I close with this. I think Cole Kmet feels the heat. I really do. He won't admit it. He did say that he respected that Ben Johnson called him as soon as they drafted Colston, but I think he feels the heat. Like it didn't sound as confident to me when talked about.
No more 5-yard outs, buddy. Get your ass on the bench.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something I've been looking at, man. So shout out to everybody been fucking with the coverage. We'll be back at it in 6 weeks, man. So that is all we have got for y'all on this edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You. Shout out to the homie Beefloaf for joining us. Dante, y'all don't have episode of High and Outside this week, but what can they expect for y'all to talk about next week?
Yeah, next week we're gonna do our first look at the All-Star rosters. A lot of good baseball being played, some surprising players, and we're gonna take a look and see who deserves to be on that All-Star team. So that's what we got going for y'all next week. So just make sure you check that out.
Bang, y'all! You and Mike B finally did a new episode of Some Dude. That's out right now. What can they expect from that?
We did a new episode of Some Dude. We talk about how the Zion and Diddy situation could we be in Me Too Part 2 with a little more emphasis on the money. We also talk about a little bit about why we were out. On the latest episode of First Black Champ, all this week, we've been talking about Money in the Bank. Tomorrow is Money in the Bank pay-per-view, so we will have a recap of that. But then also earlier in the day, it is Worlds Collide. So we're going to be talking about both of those pay-per-views on Sunday. So make sure y'all check that out.
Definitely, man. Summer Sessions, we'll be back on your Patreon airwaves next week. So look out to that. We've definitely got a lot to talk about on that. I'll be bringing back my midweek on Wednesday. Now that I haven't recorded the last couple weeks because being in Bears practice, but I will be doing midweek. I'm not gonna hold you sport updates. We're gonna make them kind of little, at the most they'll be 30 minutes. During the summer, they're probably gonna be a lot shorter, maybe 15 minutes. I'm gonna start doing those on Wednesday again. So look out for that, man. So of course, what to follow Dante on Twitter at October's Dante on all social media platforms. Follow Bang at JR Bang. Follow your boy at Barber's Chair Scott on all social media platforms. Follow the Barber's Chair at Barber's Chair Co. on all social media platforms, as well as our partners, H&B Media. Follow them at H&B Media TV on Twitter and at H&B Media on Instagram. Follow the show. I'm Not Gonna Hold You at INGHY Show on Instagram. And while you're at it, man, subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Barber's Chair Network. If you are listening to this on the audio feed, then the link is right there in the description box. If you are watching this on your YouTube, man, you can take your phone right up to the QR code and it'll take you to all 4 of our different tiers. And if you subscribe to the Barber's Chair All Access tier, which is $10, or the $5 I'm Not Gonna Hold You tier, you get 25% off on your first order on the Barber's Chair Network shop. That is the BCNetShop.com, man. The weather's getting warm. Get you some t-shirts, man. Get you some hats. Get everything you need, man. So from the gang, man, y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy game 2 of the NBA Finals. I think game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals come on tonight. I got a lot of good baseball this weekend as well, man. So we will holler at y'all on Monday. We up out of here.